Welcome back again to Show Pig Central as we've crossed over into 2026. Thank you guys for everything that y'all have done as far as listening, commenting, sending us messages and ideas and topics for future episodes, and all of the good stuff from that standpoint as an audience. We greatly appreciate it. It's been fun to hear the feedback of how this has been helpful to you. Or just entertaining to you. This episode may be less helpful and less entertaining because it's just me, Josh Brockman here by myself today. Carrie's not with me on this episode, but hopefully you still find it useful and find it fun, and hopefully it works and helps you out just a little bit. So as we kind of get started, just a few things again as we kick off into 2026, kick off into the spring show season. Into the spring breeding season. If you do something with show pigs, regardless of what part of the country you live in, January, February, March is likely to be a very busy time for you, either on the baby pig side in the Midwest, farrowing, selling, buying, etc. On the showing side in January county shows and Texas majors here in the Southwest, as well as probably both ends breeding sows for this summer. To do it all over again. So we're going to try and mix and match as we go through the early months of 2026. We're going to try to have some production-based episodes, some show ring-based episodes. Some will overlap and take both, and I'm sure many of you probably have both. Have pigs on feed that you're showing or your kids are showing, and then you also maybe a sow or two and that type of deal, or many. So hopefully you'll find a lot of these useful and dual purpose from that standpoint. But before we jump into that, again, I just want to say thanks to you guys. The results, or whatever you want to call it, have been really fun to see across YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcast and other places that y'all found us to listen. We'll ask you, as always, to go subscribe to those pages. Be sure you hit the notification bells and all that. That helps other people find the podcast and helps you not miss one as they drop out. So as we work into the spring, our goal is to try to drop one of these weekly. We took a little bit of time there during the holidays and had a couple of weeks off there to gather our thoughts and such. But that is our goal going into the spring, is to have these weekly, have episodes like we're doing today, and then also have some guests on and those type of things as well. So it's fun. We're looking forward to it. Hope you are as well. So for this episode of Show Pig Central, we've titled it just Setting Up Sows, or from the production side. What we're going to focus on in this episode is a question that we get asked a ton as far as how do we set up our sows? Do we breed on natural cycles? Do we use matrix? Do we use PG 600? What intervals do we breed sows and gilts different on? What vaccines we use, what age do we wean, et cetera, et cetera. And for this specific episode, I'm going to try to take you through our pattern, at least, of grouping sows to breed, and then from sow condition to which pre-breeding vaccines we kind of use ourselves. Again, we're not vets, so be sure to consult with your vet from that standpoint. But kind of what works for us, and then how we use matrix, because we matrix everything on the farm now, how we breed out of the crate and how you can utilize matrix in that, and then the intervals that we breed. So that's kind of a forward look of, and we'll take you all the way up, I guess, through pre-fair vaccines, feeding breds there through the gestation period, and kind of how we manage that here in Montgomery. And then I'll try to take you all the way up to the day that we put sows in the crate. And then we'll save the farrowing house part for another episode when I have Carrie on here, because she can contribute much more to that than I can once we get them in the crate, and kind of how things roll out from there. So if you don't have sows, this episode may not be of interest to you. But if you do, it's a likelihood that here in the month of January in 2026, you've either traveled to look at boars or about to travel to look at boars. I know we've had quite a few guys through the farm looking at the boars and the new boars here. Regardless, you're looking at websites, you're getting ready, making breeding plans, making breeding decisions, deciding on dates, so on and so forth. So with that in mind, we'll just start and jump straight in kind of where my mindset is now of We just grouped all of the sows and kind of got it on paper as far as when each one's, what group they're going to be in, where our breeding and farrowing groups are going to be. So that's the first thing you need to do when you're sitting down to try to get a plan, whether you have 10 sows or you've got 110 sows. Figuring out what dates and what age works for you. And there's a lot of things to consider in that. Do you have a main customer base of earlier shows? Do you need earlier May and June born pigs to market that way? Do your pigs grow really well and you don't have, I've learned a lot with guys that don't have a ton of sows. Their health is really, really good. Their baby pigs get off to a great start, and those oldest May type born pigs sometimes can get a little big before the buying public's ready to buy them. Or they just keep going. They get a great start. They grow well. The first ones to get into people's homes, and they just continue to grow and grow, and maybe are a little big for the spring show season. So depending on those factors, could change what you need and what you need to be age wise. For us, we'll have 100. We'll breed 100 sows this time. We'll start in late May. And go all the way through. We'll quit and shut down there early August, late July. Will kind of be the plan. So in that standpoint, just figuring out what works for you, when you're going to be there to breed them is pretty important. When you're going to be able to be there to farrow them, it's pretty important. Again, matrix is something we'll talk about in a minute, but it's very helpful in trying to schedule those matings and those times and help you figure out when you're going to book semen and that type of deal. And today's time, popular boars book up quickly. So being able to know your dates even before you, if you're waiting on natural heat cycles to try to figure it out, can make that more difficult to where you can set them up in groups and kind of plan ahead very, very quickly. So with that being said, we'll just jump straight in. Well, hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode on setting up sows and breeding sows, and just kind of sharing some of the ways that work for us when it comes to the breeding side of things and getting things off to the right foot for a pig crop as far as setting up on matrix and how we go about as far as breeding times and so on and so forth. I wanted to take a second and just invite you to go to the website there at brockmanfarms.com, click on the boar page, and you can see the new sires that we've got out this time. We had a great open house here not long ago and have enjoyed the positive comments of the boars, and just wanted you guys to know if you're looking for what to breed and make your next litter that you're excited about. We're excited about this new set and would love to talk about them with you. Go over it with you as far as what we think the strengths and weaknesses and how to use this new set is. Again, you can go to brockmanfarms.com, click on the boar tab, and you can see all the new boars, the price sheet, kind of our general thoughts and the description and breeding tips of how to use them. And if we can help you any way further, feel free and please reach out to us, and we'd love to help you out with that. So with that, we'll get back into this episode of Show Pig Central. And start off, the next thing after I've kind of grouped stuff together is I want to be sure I've got my sows in the right condition to get them bred. And that's not where they're very healthy fat and not obesely, or not the opposite of obesely, but really, really skinny. I like them probably if you wanted to put fat as 100 and on their deathbed at 0. I'd like to be just shy of 50%. I like to keep my sows a little bit on the leaner side than probably most. It doesn't make them the most fun to look at some days, but I think their conception, the way they breathe, the way they come into heat and cycle, conceive, and all of those things, when I've got them a hair on the skinnier side, I think is very good. So as a general rule, we feed our sows 4 to 5 pounds a day or 3 to 5 pounds a day. And normally on open sows, they're probably getting 4 pounds per head per day. Now, those amounts can change depending on what your sow feed is, what climate you're in, what your facilities are like, so on and so forth. So it's all about managing condition. For us, we've got dirt lots and concrete pens, all open barns. Obviously, we live in the southern central part of Texas, so our weather in the wintertime is pretty mild. So we don't have to worry about losing condition from a cold standpoint and those type of things. So 3 to 5 pounds usually works for us. We feed Linder sow feed 690 or 696, and they naturally stay a little fleshier on 96, but I always use that as a pre-breeding feed because it's got CTC in it. So You can kind of use that 3 to 5 pounds as a guide. But again, depending on your situation, your facility setup, which feed you're feeding, you just got to kind of read your sows and evaluate their condition. I'd say do that every three weeks or so. Evaluate sow condition is probably appropriate. So, like I say, keeping my hair thinner, in good condition, but on the thinner side, I think is what works best for us. We get much better conception rates that way. The way they cycle better for us, and then when we put them into the crate and we can really pour the feed to them, I think they actually milk better that way when we keep them and going into the crate on the skinnier side. So that's what we've got here on sow condition. Again, might be remedial, seems simple, but man, it can make all the difference in the world when it comes to conception, the way those sows breed, the way they stand, the way they come into heat, the way they cooperate with you and for you, so you can get the most out of them. If we have them in the right condition, that's the first step to success, in my opinion, when we talk about breeding sows and farrowing and that. So from there, pre-breeding vaccines. Again, I'll say it right up front, I'm not a vet. Don't take this for me. I work with a handful of different vets across Texas and the Midwest, and would recommend each one of them to you. If you don't have a good vet that's proficient in working with you from a sow standpoint, man, call me. I'll get you hooked up with one of the guys that, or I'll give you the contacts of the guys I work with. I'm very, very thankful for them and their expertise. So vaccine wise, I'm not going to label out exactly what our vaccine protocol is, because everybody's going to be probably different. I think there are some general thoughts of if you're going to vaccinate for PRRS or not. Is a decision to make. For the longest time, we did not and had no issues, and decided it was finally time that we should go ahead and address that before we got into any issues. So we started to do that. I will tell you that I was a big proponent against it, didn't want to do it, and was scared to death, honestly, to start. But once we did, we've never had a bad issue, never had any issues with the vaccine. Things have been great, and I wouldn't do it any other way now going forward. But so, again, that's something talk over with your vet, and with a specific farm by farm basis. You just got to kind of make a call on whether to not vaccinate for PRRS. I'll leave that ball in your court. But for us, it's been a good transition to do that. From there, you've got Ferrous Gold B, as I think pretty standard and pretty common across multiple herds. That's a vaccine that I think is really beneficial for you going into pre-breeding, doing that 30 to 45 days before you start breeding your main herd. We just went through and get all the opens here. Again, not a vet, not going to recommend that to you specifically. Visit with your vet and see what they say. And then from there, there's a million options. And I think it's very herd specific, depending on what you're dealing with, what you're battling, or lack thereof. And so visit with your vets and get you a protocol. But again, I don't think it's about like anything else in the pig deal. Don't pull this part from here and that part from there. And say, well, this vet said this and this vet said that. Get on a plan and a protocol and stick to it, and then you can evaluate it how it's working for you. But trying to pull from multiple different spots, I wouldn't recommend. I think you can kind of, we need to have one purpose, one protocol, one plan, and stick to it the best you can. I'm not saying that everything that's ever been recommended to me is something that I do from a vaccination standpoint, but we evaluate every year kind of where we're at health-wise. And if we need to test for things, we do, and so on and so forth, and try to be very purposeful with our vaccination protocol. So, again, just some thoughts and ideas. Not a vet. Say it one more time. Get with a vet. Let them guide you in that, and find one that ideally is dealt with sows, has sows of their own, boards, that kind of deal, and they can guide you very proficiently. There are many, many good ones out there across the country. Get with one of them, and again, just trust them and go with it. So, again, pre-breeding vaccines, pretty simple. Just got to get a plan and have a purpose. So from there, we've evaluated sow condition. We've talked about vaccines ahead of time, and then so for the longest time, once we got to a certain number of sows here, we bred everything on their own natural heat cycles. And that worked fine. It wasn't a problem. Everything was going well with that. What we did find is that in the summertime, if you breed 100 to 200 sows and you breed them on their natural heat cycle and you don't sync anything up, that you're breeding sows about every day for 3 months, and then you're farrowing sows about every day for 3 months. So Carrie is not on here, so I can say this, and I could say it if she was sitting here, but that wasn't a whole lot of fun for her, being the manager and kind of running the farrowing houses through the summer. You just never seem to have any time off, or we're always married to the farrowing house and couldn't go do this or that. And obviously with our kids that show steers and pigs and anything else through the summer, that can get tiresome. So we went back here last year to matrixing everything and setting things up in larger groups, and having them synced up to be bred when I was able to be here and not running across the country showing bears in the spring. And so I could be very hands-on the breeding side of things. And then it made her life much easier in the summer, as far as that we could farrow in big groups at specific times, sync them up, and it made life just a whole lot more fun all the way around. So we matrix everything. We set them up in larger groups of 20 or so, and go about it like that. So I get this question constantly of what's the best way to do matrix? What's the best way to give it? How long should I do it? How much should I give? So on and so forth. So I can tell you the label says 14 days, or the last time I looked at the label, it says to give 6.8 or 7 mils per head per day for 14 days. And I think if you do that, get along just fine, shouldn't have any issues. What we do is generally somewhere between 16 and 21 days on matrix. And the key number for us really is 18 days. So when we start those gilts or sows on matrix, we're going to figure off of our end date and work backwards to where they're getting matrix for 18 days. Why I like that versus doing like the bottle says, or used to say at least, at 14 days, is matrix is only keeping them from coming in heat. So it's not making them come into their heat cycle. So as we work through 18 days, we're covering both ends of their cycle. So if a sow or a gilt in a group had just cycled when you start matrix, or one was 7 days before that, and you started them on matrix, if you go 14 days, then they're still going to be to their normal 21-day heat cycle. So you're going to have a larger spread. If some are due to cycle like right off of that 14th day off of matrix, or their natural cycle was 21 days and 7 days off of 14 days off of matrix, you're going to get a larger spread and gap of your sows cycling. So for example, if I have a sow that's in heat in standing heat the day that I start matrix, well, she's going to cycle 21 days from that. So if I only go for 14 days on matrix, and when I come off, she's going to cycle in 7 days. If I have a sow that's 4 days ahead of her cycling, so she's been out of heat for 3 or 4 days, and then I start matrix and I pull her at 14 days, well, she's going to cycle 3 or 4 days ahead of the other one. So your window is broad. Now, maybe have that backwards if I'm thinking about it, but hopefully I'm making the point that if you go and you extend your matrix cycle for 18 days, those sows that would have cycled at 21 still going to cycle at the same time. I'm just dragging the ones that would have cycled early along 3 extra days with me, and then pulling matrix, and I get a lot tighter window of my sows cycling together. Again, most people that breed sows today are ordering semen, their AI and their sows. So you want to get them as close to when you're getting that semen in, as fresh as it can be, and getting your timing right. You don't want the semen sitting in the cooler for an extra 3 or 4 days. We're going to talk about that, and it's perfectly fine if it does in most cases. But as a general rule, it's always better to get them in, to get semen in sows as quick as you can, as fresh as it can be, et cetera, and so on. So if we do 18 days on matrix, we're going to tighten our window to where those sows come in close to where we want them to. And then again, like I said, on the farrowing part of it, they're going to breed more in sync within a day or two. You can farrow them on the same days, and you're not strode out 3 or 4 or 5 days, 6 days, 7 days in the farrowing house on the backside too. So it tightens your window, makes everything just a lot more convenient. The other thing that we do when we're setting up sows and grouping sows is, so we'll put them on matrix for 18 days. And I guess I should add, this is probably as good a place as any to add. Within that 18 days, usually the first 2 or 3 days may be a little bit of a pain. They're getting used to either getting it with a matrix gun or a syringe, or if you're putting it on their feed and bouncing around. that gives you a few extra days to get it going into their system, and so you just get a little bit of grace there. But so what we will do is we will calculate our last day on matrix, work back 18 days, start matrix there, and give it for that full 18 days, and then on day 19, after we've been off of matrix, we will give them a medication called PG 600. And again, that's just going to enhance even further the strength of their heat cycle for us. And it's going to tighten my window, I think, of how those sows come in even more, of keeping them in sync together at a close time. So 18 days of matrix, PG 600. Again, not a vet. Talk to the vets. Get it from them, but that's what works for us. We give that on day 19. And then those sows should cycle 4 to 7 days after that. Most of the time for us, I'll just tell you, the days that we pull is we give our last day of matrix on either Thursdays or Fridays if we've got semen coming the following Monday. So we'll give the last round of matrix on Thursday morning, give PG 600 on Friday morning. Our semen's set up for the Monday collection. So if it's boars that we have here, we've got it here Monday. If it's semen that we're having shipped in, it shows up Tuesday. And most of the time, those sows are cycling by Monday night, Tuesday morning, Tuesday night, and we're breeding them Tuesday morning when the semen comes in, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, just depending. But it tightens our window really good. We're getting semen. If it's getting shipped, we're getting it off the truck, in the cooler, and then in the sow, and we're done with it within, we don't, if it's semen that we have shipped in, we don't have it 24 hours and it's used, 48 hours and it's used, and not sitting there in the cooler for an extended period of time. And we feel like that's just adding to success from a conception rate, litter size, all of those things, versus if our sows are slow to come in. We got semen in on Monday's collection, and that sow finally cycled on Friday. We're breeding her on Saturday. Again, semen, we'll talk about that here in a minute. I think it lasts much longer than most people probably realize, as in most cases. But again, the quicker we can get in the sows, the better it is, the better conception rates we'll have, the bigger litter size, all the things that everybody wants. So again, we'll pull matrix on Thursday. Thursday or Friday will be their last day, just depending on how I feel and what the weather's like. And then we'll PG the next day, so Friday or Saturday, for the following Monday collection. If you've got semen ordered on a Thursday collection, we'll start our last day of matrix will be that previous Sunday. And then we'll PG on Monday, and then semen's for Thursday's collection. If it's getting shipped, show up Friday, and usually we're breeding by Friday or Saturday. Get them bred over the weekend, and everything's good. So that works really good for us. Again, it just kind of depends on how I feel and what the weather's like. If I want to get an extra day on that end of the week deal, whether I pull matrix on Thursday or Friday, either one's fine. And then again on Sundays for the Thursday collection, and PG on Monday. So that system for us, 18 days on matrix, PG on day 19, and you've got the following collection day, 4 to 7 days they're going to cycle. That's worked really well for us. Every once in a while you'll have a sow that cycles early. Every once in a while you'll have a sow that drags on or doesn't come in off matrix and then cycles the next cycle. Again, it's still they're still animals, they're still livestock. Nothing's 100% foolproof. But as a general rule, that protocol is going to get you really, really close, or it does for us. So the thing I will note about sows that don't cycle off a matrix for whatever reason, we've had some gilts do this, we've had some sows do this, we've had some sows that do it in one set and then not the next time. That you would think maybe don't respond to matrix or just had something odd. I don't know. But almost always those sows that don't cycle off of matrix, almost every time they'll cycle right back with that group 21 days from then. And so if they were supposed to cycle on that Tuesday morning, then 3 weeks from then they usually cycle. So I usually, if they don't cycle, I just plan on having semen ready for that sow on that next 3 weeks from then, and 18 to 21 days from there. And that usually, she usually cycles just perfect right then. I don't know what it is that makes that happen. Somebody smarter than me can probably send me a message to tell me. But you will get that from time to time. So anyways, that protocol's worked great for us. as far as setting sows up, again, that's a question we get all the time of how we do it. Now, how we actually administer and give matrix is there's a million ways to do this, and we've tried a lot of different ways over the years. We've had feed bunks to where we drop certain, the 7 or 8 cc's individually to each gilt or sow, and then they can run back to their pen. I know guys that are doing that right now, and it works good for them. I know some guys use hot dog buns and soak it in that, and then feed it to each one individually. I'll be honest, I've never been able to make that work. They either don't eat the hot dog buns, or it doesn't soak up enough, or I don't feel good about it. And so kudos to you guys that make that work, but I've never been able to make that work. I know guys that have taken, and made batches of feed with matrix mixed in, if they know how much matrix they need, and how much feed they're going to feed to this group of 10, mixing those appropriate rations together, or mixing it up good in a concrete mixer or a feed mixer, and then feeding them out of that batch. I think that's a great idea. I've never tried that one. Takes up too much time for me, and we don't have the facility set up, mixers and all that, know how to make that work. So again, if you are, that part would work pretty good and probably be pretty easy. We've did just to where we drop different piles across and then go down through and put matrix on top of each pile. That's worked fine. You run the risk of some getting too much, which is not a problem. More so, though, some not getting enough matrix in their system that way. And so the way that we do it is we actually just administer it directly in their mouth. And we used to use the actual matrix guns that squeeze trigger and plunge refill on its own. And it's got a little hook syringe there on the end that they'll take it right out of that. That works great. Those matrix guns can get a little expensive. So what we've started doing is we use a wormer gun that we can set down to 8 cc's that we want it to be. We put a draw tube on it and actually put it just in a small jug and kind of made our own little apparatus there. That it's again as you give one dose, it redraws and it draws the next one. And we just go down through there and put that directly in their mouth. The barn that we use to do matrix in has a 8-foot alley in front of the pen. So we'll kick those sows out after we feed, and go down through and give each one of them and either chalk mark them that they're done or just catch them as they go by. The neatest thing about matrix is those sows really like it, and they go to it really well after the first couple of days. You may have some crazy gilts like we do. That the first couple of days is a little bit of a rodeo, but as a general rule, after day 2, those sows are coming to whoever's giving that matrix. They're coming to that person. They're looking for it. They want it. They get somewhat addicted to it, and they really like it. So it becomes really easy after the first 2 or even 3 days for us in being able to just administer that out of that gun. They get it. And again, each sow gets it that way. And if they jerk or miss or whatever, and you don't think they got enough, we just go back and give them another round. Again, you can't give them too much. I'm sure maybe you can, but giving it 2 or 3 doses a day just to be sure they got it is the protocol that we use. That's what we stand by. Is if we don't think they got it all, we give them another dose of it. That way we know they've got it. And like I say, after day 2, usually, or at the most day 3 or 4, they come to it really easy. If it's a smaller group, you ain't even got to turn them out. Just reach over the fence. They're going to come up to you for it. No doubt about it. So we used to do matrix before we fed in the morning. We realized that was very silly on our part and hectic. And so we'd go through, feed everything, and then go back and matrix. And so we do it in the mornings. It works for us. If you're a part-time deal and you've got to get to work in the morning, doing it in the evening will work just the same. But again, that's the way that we like to do it. That way you can keep your sows grouped. You don't have to put them in individual pens to be sure they get it. They're already grouped for the way they want to be and the way you're going to breed them. And you're sure they get it, and you just kind of control the situation. So again, lots of ways to give matrix. That's just the way that works best for us, is administering it directly into their mouth. Like I say, after the first day or 2 or 3. Maybe 4 if one's really silly. then they get it pretty easy and they like it and want it. So the only other thing that I was going to talk about with matrix before we kind of move on to breeding intervals and how we go about that is weaning with matrix, is the way I titled it on my iPad here. So let's say that you've got a group set up on matrix and you've got some sows in the farrowhouse, and those sows in the farrowhouse really need to be weaned the week before your matrix group comes off matrix, and they really need to be weaned, but you don't want to breed them right out of the crate. You need another week to make it work on your farrowing schedule in the summer. There's a million different ways that that need this scenario. But long story short, if you need to wean your sows, but you really don't want to breed them for an extra week, but you don't want to wait a whole nother cycle and 3 weeks later, using matrix as you wean those sows out of the crate can be very, very beneficial and very effective. So essentially, the process of it's going to work just like the latter part of your matrix cycle. So if you're going to wean that sow, let's just say you're going to wean her at 21 days, pigs are 21 days old. I would start at day 18 or 19, giving that sow, again, the normal 7 or 8 cc's, whichever amount you want to give her, of matrix once a day, 3 or 4 days before I wean that sow. And then, let's say I'm doing that at day 18, 19, 21. So she's had it 3 days. I wean the pigs at day 21, and I want to keep her on. Let's just say that 21st day is a Thursday. I want to keep her on till the next Thursday because I'm getting semen the following Monday with the rest of my matrix group. So if I wean on Thursday, let's just say Thursday the 1st, and I want to go to the next Thursday, which I guess would be the 8th or the 7th, whichever one it would be, I'm going to give her matrix for the 3 days before I wean, and then I'm going to continue just giving her matrix like I would any other way, 7 or 8 cc's once a day, until I want to pull her off just like I normally would. So in this situation, again, matrix is just keeping them from coming into heat. So you don't have to go a full 18-day run. You can go 4 days, you can go 3 days, you can go 7 days, you can go 18 days, whatever you want to do. If you're going to do that, I'd just wean her and breed her on the next cycle if you're going to go much further than a week. But you can keep that sow matrix for, let's just say, 7 days, prolong her coming in heat for a week out of her weaning cycle, and then PG 600 her and go again just like you would if she was coming off matrix, any other time. So if you do that, let's say you wean on Thursday, but you want to hold her off a week, you give her matrix for 3 days prior to weaning, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you wean on Thursday. You're going to keep giving her matrix Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to the next Thursday, and then that Thursday would be her last day on matrix. PG on Friday, semen follow the next Monday, and she should be just right in sync. So again, you can make your intervals however you'd like, but it's just going to extend her and push off her cycle coming, just like matrix normally would. This is very handy to try to shift those sows again that you need to wean, even if it's, you need to wean because you need the crate space for sows coming in behind them, but you're not ready to breed them. You can kind of utilize that really good. So this is one of those things I didn't know about for a long time. Somebody told me about it, and it made my life so much easier to try to shift and get some of those groups the way I wanted them to be early on. And also it's something that we do now too. Now I've mentioned PG 600 a lot. That is not a necessary thing that you have to do. I personally think it does make their cycles much stronger. I think it works really good. But they're going to come in. It's not something you have to follow matrix up with either time. So again, matrix groups, weaning with matrix. And again, you don't have to do that either. If you want to wean and breed right off of that weaning cycle, get after it. Everything's good. It just this little protocol gives you a little space if you want to move some things, slide things one way or the other. The other thing that I also do with that is if I've got some smaller pigs that I want to leave on a sow for a little extra time, let's say leave them on until 28 days or so, or 30 days, and I'm worried about I'm going to breed that sow out of the crate and I don't want her to cycle in the crate and kind of wean them herself. I'll kind of give them a matrix there that last week in the crate as well, just to kind of ensure that she doesn't cycle early or things like that happen. So again, matrix, very useful tool, not a necessity, but definitely a luxury. Check it out if you haven't and need to kind of maintain some scheduling a little bit better in your sow herd from a breeding and farrowing standpoint. So that's going to bring us to actually the breeding part of breeding sows, and so everybody's kind of got their own thought process, but I think there's a general guiding principle that 12 to 24 hours after their first standing heat is when you want to start breeding, and that semen will live in that sow for 24 hours, so you can space your doses out 24 hours apart. I'd say it's a pretty general principle in show pig breeding that you want to use 2 doses per sow. I know guys that have made it work with less than that or splitting a dose, and I know guys that'll put 3 in every one of them just to be sure. But as a general principle, I think we're talking about 2 doses per sow is kind of where you want to be. So the way we do it, we check heat twice a day. We check heat as quick as we can after we do chores in the morning. So as soon as all the sows are done eating, we check heat in the morning, and then we check heat obviously in the evening time as well, between 4 and 6 o'clock usually. So the later you can get in a heat cycle is when your ovulations are going to be better. You don't want to be too early when you go breeding sows and gilts, but at the same time, that semen is going to live in their body for let's say 24 hours. So you want to be able to cover all of their ovulations with your 2 doses of semen as well. Now, as a general principle, I'll just tell you what we do, and then we can talk about some exceptions along the way. But as a general principle, off of a first standing heat cycle, we will breed gilts 12 hours after they stand the first time. So if they stand on Tuesday morning, then we're going to breed those gilts on Tuesday evening for the first time. On sows, as a general principle, we're going to breed 24 hours from their first stand. So if they stand on Tuesday morning, then we're going to breed them on Wednesday morning for the first time. So 12 hours from their first standing heat on gilts, 24 hours from their first standing heat on sows. Now, I've got a little bit of a twist to this on the sow deal we'll talk about later that I've started doing just for here, just because the way our schedules work, it works good for us. But as a general rule, I think you'll have the most success 12 hours from the first stand on gilts, 12 hours from the first standing heat, or 24 hours from the first standing heat on sows. Now, you might need to back up and say, all right, what's standing heat? Important thing to know, it is very beneficial to have a heat check bore. I know they make bore sprays and all of this stuff. I'm going to tell you, it's worth the investment to have a heat check bore to check your sows with, so that way when you can definitely tell when they're in heat, when they're locked up, standing, ears pinned back, not moving, in a what we would call true standing heat, which would happen is as you put pressure on their back or set on their back, they're going to lock up, they're going to stand still, they're going to be usually they'll kind of pin their ears back, and you can tell that they're in what you would call a locked up standing heat. Again, a lot of people maybe get a little nervous and the sow's still bumping and running around, not necessarily standing, and again, they go ahead and consider it that and then breed, and they're a little early in their timing. Be sure that those sows are locked in, standing, and definitely in heat. So a good heat check bore is very, very valuable when it comes to that. Sometimes you'll get crazy gilts and you got to kick them out in the alley and let the boar kind of, because they're scared of you and scared of everything else and scared of the other sows that are bigger than them running around beside them. But anytime I have those, I just kick them out in the alley. I let the boar get literal physical contact with them, maybe with another gilt their size also, and just kind of be patient with gilts because they can be a little frustrating. But from that first standing heat, we're going to breed 12 hours on gilts, 24 hours on sows. So let's just, again, go back to our timeline. Tuesday morning, 1 gilt stands, 1 sow stands. That night, when I go to check heat, I know I'm going to breed that gilt. The next morning when I go to check heat, I know I'm going to breed that sow. Now, from there, you're going to put a second dose in them 24 hours after you put the first dose. So for that gilt that we bred Tuesday night, we're not going to breed her again till Wednesday night. And then for the sow that we bred on Wednesday morning, then we'd obviously breed her the next time on Thursday morning. Spacing those out 24 hours, I think is the most effective. Now, a little odd thing that we do here in Montgomery, because we like to do things oddly sometimes, is on sows, if we check heat in the morning and I have a sow stand, I will actually breed her that night. So 12 hours like I would a gilt. And then I'll breed her the following night. Now, if I have a sow that stands in the evening, then I'm going to wait till the next evening and then the following evening. My methodology behind that is that we breed at a much earlier time here, just the way our schedules all work in the evening. So we breed usually by 5 o'clock p.m. And typically, just the way chores work in the morning, we don't breed before 9 a.m. So we're breeding much earlier in the evening than we are in the morning. So I'm catching those sows. I worry when I'm 24 and 24, just at our timeline and the way that our timeline works. If I'm 24 and 48 in an AM schedule, I'm getting a little late. Sometimes those sows are starting to go out on us by their second dose. So we've just the way we address that, because we feed sows at 7:30 every morning. We're not going to feed them earlier than that. That we just tweaked our protocol on breeding sows. It's different if they stand in the morning than the evening. Some people can say what they want to, but again, in all of these things, I'm just telling you what works for us. This the protocols that work for us, so how we make it work. And generally we've had very successful conception rates, litter sizes, and so on. So we've been very blessed by the Lord in that department. But these are just the way that we do it. The other thing that we've added and went back to do in the last 2 years that I think really helps us, just personal preference, is we give Cysterelin with the first dose to every sow and every gilt that we breed. We give them 3 cc's of Cysterelin. So as we finish up breeding that first dose, we give them an IM intramuscular shot of Cysterelin, and after that first dose of semen. I think that helps. I think it improves our conception rates. I think it improves our litter sizes. I've had guys that are much more knowledgeable than me tell me that doesn't make any medical sense. And maybe they're right. Maybe it makes me feel better. But I've went along over the last 10 years and we've bred sows without it and we've bred sows with it. And it is certainly seems like, at least for me, that we see a difference. Maybe it's coincidental, maybe it's not, but we give Cysterelin 3 cc's IM to every sow or gilt during or after she's been administered her first dose of semen. So again, little overview on how we breed sows. First stand, gilts 12 hours, and then again 24 hours later. Sows 12 hours in the morning. We'll breed them that night, but as a general rule, sows are 24 hours from their first stand and then 24 hours from that. So, and Cysterelin with their first dose, we'll give them a IM shot of that. So, yeah, not vets on the Cysterelin part. Consult with who you'd like on that, but that's what works for us here in Montgomery. So, so there we've got our sows bred, hopefully conceived, and things are good on that standpoint. And then when we go to, we'll just kind of start to wrap up here. When we go to check heat, after that, those sows are going to recycle in 18 to 21 to 28 days. So be sure and start checking at 18 days from when they first stood. That way you can verify if they're bred or not, and if they recycle, you can get them bred if that works for you on the timeline on that second try. And I would always recommend to you start checking heat at 18 days from their first standing heat, and check all the way to 30 days at least past that first standing heat if you can. A lot of those, if they've got a low conception rate or don't have many conceptions, they'll hold on to them past 21 days to 24, 28, or even to 30, and then go ahead and recycle late. And I don't know if that science is exact or not, but it seems like it makes sense. Sounds good anyways. But regardless, for whatever reason, it may or may not be. We'll try to get some guys on here that can talk about the scientific part of that. But I always try to check to 30 days post their first standing heat from when I bred them, just to be sure and to be certain, and again to get them bred if that still works on my timeline. So I hope this was helpful to you. It's just kind of the way that we're currently doing things here in Montgomery at Brockman Farms. We're about to get ready to breed a whole bunch of them. We're going to breed every sow on the farm that's big enough and old enough here over the next 90 to 100 days. So, and I'm sure many of you are going to do the same thing. And so hopefully this has been helpful to you. Hopefully it answers some questions. And if there's something we didn't or I didn't talk about that you've got any questions on, ordering semen, anything like that, feel free to reach out to me or Carrie, either one, you can hit, and wherever you're listening to the podcast, there should be a direct, send us a message there. You can text us, shoot us a message on our Facebook page. And as always, we want to close this out. If there's anything we can be praying for you about, we would love to do that. That is would be an honor and something that we don't take lightly, to be able to go to our Lord on anyone's behalf. So sure, let us know about that. And anyway, we hope this breeding season is great for everyone. Good for you. Hope you have good conception rates. Things cooperate. And just know on the days that they don't, it's going to be all right. The sun will come up the next day if the Lord wills. So, yeah, have fun, and we will see you next time on Show Pig Central.